By 1942, the tide of World War II hung in uncertain balance. Hitler's armies controlled most of Europe, but in secret, his scientists were working on something far more dangerous, a weapon that could end the war in a single, blinding flash: the atomic bomb. In the icy mountains of Norway, there stood a factory, the Vemork plant, quietly producing heavy water, a rare substance crucial for building a nuclear reactor. If Germany succeeded, it would mean catastrophe. The Allies had one desperate option: destroy the plant at any cost. The mission would be called Operation Gunnerside, one of the most daring acts of sabotage in human history. The story began with the Norwegian resistance, patriots who refused to let their country bow to Nazi rule. Among them was Joachim Rønneberg, a 23-year-old lieutenant trained in Britain's Special Operations Executive, the SOE. Britain's scientists had warned, heavy water production must stop, or Hitler could soon possess an atomic bomb. A previous Allied attempt, Operation Freshman, had ended in tragedy. 2 gliders crashed, and survivors were executed by the Gestapo. But Gunnerside would be different. This time, it would be a small, silent team of Norwegians, skiing through snowstorms, armed with explosives, and a single purpose: save the world. In February 1943, under the cover of the Arctic night, Rønneberg and 5 men parachuted into the barren wilderness of Telemark, Norway. Temperatures dropped below -30 degrees Celsius. The wind howled through endless white plains. For days they survived on reindeer meat and coffee substitute, sleeping in snow caves, their beards frozen with ice. They met up with another group, the grouse team, who had been stranded in the mountains for months after Freshman failed. Malnourished but alive, they joined forces. From their base high above the Rjukan Valley, they could see their target, a fortress-like hydroelectric plant built into the mountainside, surrounded by floodlights, guards, and cliffs. The challenge was nearly impossible. But they had a plan. On the night of February 27, 1943, the Gunnerside team began their descent. They skied silently under a moonless sky, crossed a frozen river, and crawled through a narrow railway bridge above a deep gorge. They moved like shadows. Reaching the basement of the plant, they found a locked door. With calm precision, they cut the chain and slipped inside. Inside the heavy water chamber, they worked quickly, placing explosive charges on 18 high-pressure cells. Each was set with a 30-second fuse. Before leaving, they carefully placed a British-made Thompson submachine gun magazine to make the sabotage clearly Allied, so no Norwegian civilians would be blamed. At 12:45 a.m., the explosion thundered through the valley. Pipes burst, heavy water flooded the floor, and the plant's core was destroyed. Not a single shot was fired. No one was killed. And within minutes, the team vanished into the mountains. The German army launched an enormous manhunt. Thousands of soldiers scoured the snow-covered wilderness, but the saboteurs were ghosts. They skied hundreds of kilometers across the mountains, pursued day and night. They crossed into neutral Sweden, cold, starving, but alive. The mission was a complete success. The plant was crippled, and Hitler's atomic program was set back by years. When production finally resumed, Allied bombers finished the job, and a later attempt by the Germans to transport the remaining heavy water ended in disaster when Norwegian resistance sank the ferry SF Hydro, sending the barrels to the bottom of Lake Tinschau. The atomic dream of the Third Reich drowned with it. Historians believe Operation Gunnerside was one of the most successful sabotage missions of World War II. It prevented Nazi Germany from obtaining the key ingredient for nuclear weapons, possibly saving millions of lives. Joachim Rønneberg and his men never sought fame. When asked how he felt about saving the world, he simply replied, "We just did our job." Their story reminds us that sometimes the fate of humanity can rest in the hands of a few men, armed not with armies or bombs, but with courage, endurance, and the will to do what must be done. Operation Gunnerside, the mission that stopped Hitler's bomb.